Why do we fall ill? In this chapter, we will learn about health, the definition of health, the causes of illness, why do people or why do we fall sick, the prevention, the treatment, and a little emphasis on vaccination. So these are the topics we are going to touch. First, let's define health. Now here they have defined health. They've given an example of a grandmother. For a grandmother to be healthy is being able to go to the market or to visit the neighbors, is being well. Not being able to do such things is poor health. Like for a student, being healthy is to be interested in following the teachings in the classroom so that we can understand the world, is called a healthy attitude. So if you were to define health, health is a state of being well enough to function well physically, mentally and socially. So when it comes to health, we have to be healthy in three aspects. We should be well enough to function physically. Our body should be well enough to perform. Mentally, we should be able to concentrate. We should be able to study well. Mental health is important for good health. And also socially, we should be able to interact with the people around us in a proper manner. So good health has three aspects. Should be well mentally, physically, mentally and socially. Being in a state of well-being, physically, mentally and socially, is called good health. Now that we know the definition of health, let us next go to see what factors affect good health. So we now see how health is affected. The first factor we are going to discuss is physical environment. The physical environment is an environment around us. To explain how this physical environment affects good health, let us take an example in the case of a cyclone. Now, if an area is experiencing a cyclone, there is destruction. And because there is destruction around, people are unable to get clean water. Their shelter is destroyed. They are unable to get food. Food is scarce. So do you think is it possible to maintain good health in the case of a cyclone? It's not possible. Even when there is a flood, when this physical environment is destroyed or is damaged, it's very difficult to maintain good health, because the things that we need for good health, clean water, food, shelter, is not available. So the environment, the physical environment, plays a very important role in maintaining good health of a community or of a society. Like here in the textbook they've mentioned, health is at risk in a cyclone in many ways, and which I have discussed. Now let's go to the next point, is a social environment. How does social environment affect our health? Here we read in a textbook, human beings, they live in societies. Hence our social environment is an important factor in our individual health. We live in villages, we live in towns and cities. Hence, our physical environment is decided by our social environment. So we humans, we don't live alone. We live in villages. We live in groups, in cities and in towns. So our social environment is very important. In fact, our physical environment is determined by our social environment. depends on social environment. We'll take up an example to understand this point. Here they've given a very good point is what would happen if no agency in ensuring that garbage is collected and disposed. Suppose in that village, the society or the community does not give importance to cleanliness. There is no agency to collect garbage. Then the garbage would be all over the place. It would be in the drains would be blocked, the place would be dirty, and you definitely expect disease to spread in that area. So social environment is very important and decides our physical environment. If the individuals of that area emphasize on cleanliness, they have agencies, they have proper systems to keep their village or city clean, this would have clean physical environment leading to better health of the individuals. So good health also depends on social environment, because social environment will determine physical environment. Next is economic conditions. Now for good health, we require food, because food nourishes our body. To buy food, we require money. And to earn money, we require job. And jobs are available only if the economic condition of that place is healthy, is proper. So jobs we get only in good economic conditions. So the economic conditions of an area or of a country will also determine the good health of their citizens, of their individuals. That is why we see countries where are poor economically, are poor countries, there is more spread of disease, is because people are unable to get good food. Many places in Africa which are very poor, you find many children suffering from disease, is because they do not get, they're malnourished, they do not get food, and the reason why they do not get food is jobs are not so easily available in those areas. So economic conditions also of a country, of a place, determines the health of their people. Another important factor for good health is social equality and harmony. For people to be happy, there should be equality in society. Individuals should treat the other individual as its equal. They should not mistreat. There should not be distinction in, based on any caste or religion. So this is very important, social equality. Like in the text they've given very nicely, we need to be happy in order to be truly healthy. If we mistreat each other and are afraid of each other, we cannot be happy or healthy. Social equality and harmony are therefore necessary for individual health. So to go over the slide again, we said the factors affecting good health is physical environment. We need to have proper physical environment to have good health. We give an example of a cyclone or a flood when the physical environment is destroyed, and under those conditions you see people do not enjoy good health. There are many times after a flood or after an earthquake, there are outbreaks of cholera and other infectious diseases because people do not get clean water or proper food. Then we saw social environment. We live in a society, and if the individuals of that community do not give importance to like cleanliness, then that society, those individuals cannot be healthy. And our social environment also decides our physical environment. Then we have economic conditions. One of the basic needs of humans or of any living organism is nutrition, is food, and if food is not available, people can't be healthy. For food to be available, they have to buy food. In order to have money, you need a good job, which means good economic condition. And then there is social equality and harmony, which are also important for good health. People cannot live under stress. If there are clashes between different communities, people are not peaceful, they are afraid, and hence they will not enjoy good health. In the earlier slide, we learned what was health. We defined health. It's defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Now here we will define what you mean by disease-free. First, let us define what is disease. Health and disease are interconnected, but they are two separate terms. Now, disease-free means the word disease is called disturbed ease. So when I say disease, it is disturbed ease. Means when you are not at ease, when you are uncomfortable. Means that you're uncomfortable would be like you have a pain, you have a stomach ache, or you're dizzy. So some kind of symptoms which you don't feel well, that means you have a disease. And this disease could be caused by infectious agents or by some abnormality in the body. That we will discuss later, the causes of disease. But disease is basically disturbed ease, is when you are uncomfortable. When you have an uncomfortable feeling in your body, means you are diseased. So disease is disturbed ease due to malfunctioning of the body. When the body is physically unable to function is called disease. But health is different. Health has got three aspects: physical, social and mental. Disease has got only one aspect, and that is the physical working of the body. So here's the distinction between healthy and disease-free. Disease and its causes. What does disease look like? Now, our body is made up of cells. The cells, they group up into tissues. The tissues group up into organs. The organs then group up into organ systems. We have many such systems in our body, like we have the digestive system. And the digestive system, the function is to digest food. We have the muscular system, which helps in the movement of our body. This is what this first paragraph deals with. We'll read to it very quickly. There are many tissues in the body, as we have seen in chapter 6. These tissues are make up the physiological systems or the organ systems. These tissues, we see, they make up the organs make up the organ systems that carry out the body functions. Each of the organ systems has a specific organ as its part, and it has a particular function. Like the digestive system has the stomach and the intestines, and it helps to digest food taken in from the outside of the body. The muscular skeletal system, which is made up of bones and muscles, holds the body parts together and helps the body to move. So the different systems in a body perform their functions. But now what would happen if one of the systems doesn't work properly? When there is a disease, either the functioning of one or more systems of the body will change for the worse. These changes give rise to symptoms. Example, if your digestive system is not functioning, your stomach is unable to digest, you'll probably get a stomach pain. Or you may get loose motions. So this stomach pain and loose motions are an indication that your digestive system is not working well. It's not functioning well. So these are called symptoms. The symptoms, like a headache. If you have a headache, it could be something just like a stress. You're stressed that day. Or you may have had a sunstroke. Or it could be something more serious, like a tumor in the brain or meningitis. So a headache is a symptom. It tells you that the system is not working well. So we read further. Symptoms of disease are things we feel as being wrong, like pain. When there's pain, we know there is something wrong. If there's loose motions, we know there is something wrong. So we have a headache, we have a cough. Like if we have a cough, we know there's something wrong in the lungs or in our respiratory system. We have loose motions. We have a wound with pus. These are all symptoms. These indicate that there may be a disease, but they don't indicate what disease is. Like, let's take up the example of a headache. If it is a headache, like I told you, it could be stress, it could be just a sunstroke, it could be tumor, it could be something more serious like meningitis. So the symptom does not tell you the disease. It just tells you that something is wrong in the body. Like, for example, a headache may mean just examination stress, or it may mean meningitis, or many other dozen different diseases. So once you have a symptom, then you go to the doctor, and the doctor then now tries to identify the disease. And what the doctor sees is something called signs. So signs of a disease are what physicians will look for on the basis of symptoms. Signs will give a little more definite indication of the presence of a particular disease. It helps a doctor to diagnose a disease. Physicians will also get a laboratory test done to pinpoint the disease further. So let's go through this again. If any of your system is unable to work properly, then you get certain symptoms like pain, loose motions, or a headache. Once you get the symptoms, you go to the doctor. Then the doctor then looks for the signs to pinpoint the disease. We'll now give the difference between symptoms and signs. So symptoms of disease are things we feel as being wrong. Signs are what physicians will look for on the basis of symptoms. Like if you have loose motions or your stomach is paining, the physician will then examine the stomach with a stethoscope. He will examine and see if it is swollen or if his liver is swollen. So he looks for signs. Now symptoms are general as they do not help in diagnosing the illness. Like if you have a headache, headache is a symptom. It's so general. You do not know why the headache is. It could be like examination stress, it could be a sunstroke, it could be something more serious like a tumor in the brain. So symptoms are very general. But signs are more specific, and hence they help in diagnosing the illness. So this is the difference between symptoms and signs. The next is, how do doctors diagnose an illness? Two ways. Depending on the symptoms, they look for signs, and then they have this laboratory test. This laboratory test, like the blood test or urine test or the stool test and other tests that they could carry on, would pinpoint the disease. Next topic is acute and chronic diseases. Now, acute diseases are those that last for a short time, for a short duration. Like typhoid, acute disease. You're sick for maybe a month or a fortnight and then you're fine. Cholera, acute diseases. But chronic diseases are diseases that last for a lifetime, for a longer duration. That could be even a lifetime. Example, cancer, chronic diseases, last for a long time. A heart disease, a heart attack, a cardiac ailment is a chronic diseases. So here we go about and see the difference between acute and chronic. Here, some diseases last for only very short period of time, and these are called acute diseases. Example, common cold, it lasts only a few days, so it is an acute disease. But other ailments can last for a long time, even as much as a lifetime, and are called chronic diseases. Example of chronic diseases is elephantiasis, which is common in some parts of India. So here we give the difference between acute and chronic. Acute diseases last for a short time. Chronic disease lasts for a long time. Now in acute, the patient recovers completely after the cure. Patient does not recover completely. Like if you have a cancer, you cannot recover completely. It can be kept under control for a long time, but you cannot say you're completely recovered. There is no loss of weight or feeling of tiredness afterwards. But in chronic, there is a loss of weight, there's a feeling of tiredness. In acute, you are sick for a short time, so health is not affected. The patient returns back to work. But when it comes to chronic, health is affected because it is a disease that remains for you for a lifetime. So you are unable to return to normal work and efficiency drops. Your lifestyle has to change. Like if you have a cardiac ailment, after the cardiac ailment, you have to make changes in your lifestyle. So this chronic diseases affect health. Acute diseases do not affect health. So we were given examples of acute, like they have given here common cold, typhoid. This can be considered acute. Chronic diseases, cancer, a heart ailment, a cardiac ailment. Like here they've given example of elephantiasis. These are all examples of chronic diseases. So in this slide, we learned the difference between symptoms and signs. First, we get the symptoms. When a system is not functioning, we get some symptoms, and because of those symptoms, we feel something is wrong, so we go to the doctor, and the doctor then looks out for the signs, and with the help of the signs, he can then diagnose the disease. Then we also saw the difference between acute diseases and chronic diseases. Acute, which lasts for a short time, and they do not usually affect our health. After the disease is cured, we are back to our normal work, normal routine. But chronic diseases are diseases that last for a lifetime, for a longer time, and they do affect our health. We have to change our lifestyle after we are infected with a chronic disease. Our lifestyle cannot be the same. We'll now look into how chronic diseases affect health. We read a little from the text now. Acute diseases, which is over very soon, will not have time to cause major effects on general health, while chronic diseases will do so. As an example, think about a cough and a cold, which all of us have time to time. Most of us get better and become well within a week or so, and there are no lasting effects on our health. But if we get affected with a chronic disease like tuberculosis is a chronic disease, tuberculosis of the lungs, then being ill over the years does make us lose weight and feel tired all the time. So tuberculosis is a chronic disease, and it affects our health for a long time, even a lifetime. We can go on to school for a few days if we have an acute diseases, but a chronic disease will make it difficult for us to follow what is being taught in school and reduce our ability to learn. In other words, we are likely to have prolonged general poor health if we have chronic diseases. Chronic diseases, therefore, have very drastic long-term effects on people's health as compared to acute diseases. Chronic diseases affect health. Acute diseases do not affect health. That's the main difference between chronic. So chronic disease affect health. Acute diseases do not affect health. You get back to your normal routine very soon. Next, we study the causes of diseases. The first cause of the disease is called the immediate cause is the microbes itself, or the bacteria or the virus or fungi that enters our body and causes the disease. So it's called the immediate cause or the primary cause. Like if you have typhoid, the typhoid bacteria must have entered your body and hence you got typhoid. If you have a common cold, the virus, common cold virus has entered your body and hence you got common cold. So that is called the immediate cause. So the immediate cause is the bacteria, the virus, the fungi, or whichever microbe that enters your body and causes the disease. Then next we have the contributory causes. Here we need to discuss this a little more in detail. The textbook, they've given a very good example of a child having loose motions. Now, if a child has loose motions, definitely there is a microbe that has entered the body, an infectious agent that has entered the body and caused the loose motions. So this microbe entered the body and caused loose motions in the body. So the microbe is a primary cause. But from where has the microbe come? The microbe probably has come from unclean water that the baby drank. But there are so many babies in that area that must have drunk that unclean water. Why did this baby only get loose motions? Probably this baby had no proper nourishment, no proper food, and hence had a weak immune system. So we can say this child was unhealthy. That is why he got affected. And why was he unhealthy? Because poor nourishment. Didn't have proper food, unbalanced diet, and this made him unhealthy. The next is why there was poor nourishment for this child. Probably this was a poor child. The economic conditions were not good. There was poverty, and because of poverty led to poor nourishment, and hence he fell sick so easily. So these become secondary causes, like the poverty, poor nourishment, become secondary causes of disease. Another cause could be he has a genetical disorder, genetic difference. If you have in the same family, you may have two people, like in the COVID we have seen the same family, there may be one person who does not get sick while the other one gets sick. It is because they're eating the same food. But one will probably get the symptoms or will not. And the reason could be genetically. Maybe there is some person has particular genes that will help him to fight the disease, while the other does not have those genes and hence has a weaker immune system. So this genes or this genetic difference also plays an important role in the causes of disease. Many cancers are connected to genes. People have this particular gene that would cause cancer. So genes also play an important role for the cause of diseases. Another reason could be where people fall sick is the public services. It could be there is no proper garbage collection in that area, there is no proper clean water. So all these also would cause a disease in this area. So we can say the causes of diseases could be immediate cause, could be contributory causes. In the contributory causes we have like poverty, genetic differences, malnourishment, public services. These are all contributory causes to a disease. So let's summarize what we have studied. Give the causes of diseases. First is the immediate cause. The immediate cause is that bacteria, virus or a fungi or any other disease causing organisms that enters the body. Then we have the contributory causes. The contributory causes are different. We have the second level causes like lack of nourishment, genetic differences, malfunctioning of an organ. We could also have third level causes, and the third level causes could be like poverty, poor public services like sanitation, garbage collection, and a polluted environment. So causes of diseases could be the immediate cause and the contributory causes. The contributory causes are further divided into two. So let me just summarize. So you have the immediate cause, which is the virus itself, and then you have the contributory causes, and this contributory cause is further divided into two. the second level cause, and you have the third level cause, which have been explained. Next we get to infectious and non-infectious diseases. Infectious diseases are diseases that are infectious, means they spread from one person to the other. They are caused by infectious agents. Non-infectious diseases are those which are not caused by infectious agents, and hence they do not spread from one person to another. Like here we have infectious diseases are caused by infectious agents. Means what? Are caused by germs, they are caused by microbes, virus, fungi, etc. And because they are caused by this infectious agent, they spread from one person to the other. And we can say the cause is external. It's an external cause. It enters from outside the body. But when we come to non-infectious diseases, are not caused by infectious agent, and hence there is no infectious agents involved. They do not spread from person to person, and the cause is internal. A malfunctioning of an organ or a cancer, a heart ailment, a non-infectious disease. They do not spread from one person to the other. So if you were to give examples of infectious, like we see COVID is infectious, we have common cold is infectious, caused by a virus, we have cholera, infectious, in non-infectious diseases, cancer, cardiac ailments, high blood pressure, diabetes. These are non-infectious diseases. They cannot be spread from one person to another, and the cause is within the body. It doesn't come from the outside. Let's read a little from the textbook. It is useful to think of immediate causes of a disease belonging to two distinct types. One group of the causes is infectious agents, mostly microbes or microorganisms. Diseases where microbes are the immediate cause are called infectious diseases. This is because the microbes can spread in all the community disease that will cause spread with them. So infectious diseases are diseases that are caused by infectious agents. Now for the non-infectious diseases, here on the other hand, there are diseases that are not caused by infectious agents. Their causes vary, but they are not external causes like microbes. They can spread in the community. Instead, they are mostly internal non-infectious causes. For example, some cancers are caused by genetic abnormalities. High blood pressure can be caused by excessive weight and lack of exercise. So here I gave a question, what is the cause of high blood pressure? Some of the causes could be excessive weight or lack of exercise. There are other causes too, but these are the causes of excessive weight and lack of exercise could cause high blood pressure. And here again we saw what are infectious diseases. Diseases caused by an infectious agent, and non-infectious diseases not caused by infectious agent, by other factors, malfunctioning of the body or many other genetic abnormalities also. Next we go and see what are infectious agents, learn a little more detail about them. Organisms that cause diseases are found in wide range of such categories of classification. Some are viruses, some may be bacteria, some infectious agents could be fungi, some are single cell animals or protozoans. Some diseases are caused by multicellular organisms such as worms of different kinds. So if I were to ask you what are infectious agents? Infectious agents are organisms that cause disease. Like they could be, in this case we have seen, they could be virus, or it could be bacteria, some bacteria, not all bacteria, some bacteria. There could be fungi that cause disease, there could be protozoans, single cell animals, or they could be also multicellular like worms, also cause diseases. So these are infectious agents. Here we'll see the picture, in this picture, some of the infectious agents. Like in this picture we have the staphylococci, and it causes acne, so you got to learn this. Then here you have trypanosoma, which causes sleeping sickness. Here is a picture of leishmania that causes a disease called Kala Azar. And here the last, we have an adult roundworm or Ascaris lubricoides in the small intestines, which is present a lot in the human beings. So please learn these. Acne is caused by staphylococci. Sleeping sickness is caused by trypanosoma, and then you have Kala Azar caused by leishmania, and you have this roundworm. And this is of course of the SARS virus, a picture of the SARS virus. Now, examples of diseases caused by virus are common cold, influenza, dengue, and AIDS. So viruses cause diseases like common cold. You need to learn this. Influenza, the dengue fever, and AIDS. Many others, but these are the ones that you need to learn. Then we have bacteria. Now, cholera, tuberculosis, typhoid, anthrax are caused by bacteria. So bacterial diseases caused by bacteria are typhoid, cholera, tuberculosis, anthrax. These are caused by bacteria. Then we have by protozoans. Protozoans cause familiar disease like malaria and Kala Azar. So protozoans, they cause diseases like malaria, Kala Azar. Next, I think it's Kala Azar, there's another A. And then we have also worms. We have these intestinal worms that cause diseases like elephantiasis. So worms, they cause diseases like elephantiasis. Here we have certain skin disease we missed out here. We have different kinds of skin diseases which are caused by fungi. So fungi, skin diseases are caused by fungi. So here I've done in a tabular form infectious agents and the disease they cause. Like bacteria, you have typhoid, cholera, tuberculosis. Then viral diseases like common cold, influenza, dengue, AIDS. Fungi, skin infections. Protozoans, malaria, Kala Azar. I need to include Kala Azar here. Then worms, intestinal worms, infectious, elephantiasis are all caused by worms. So to make this table in your book. Now that we know the infectious agents and the disease they cause, like common cold is caused by virus, we have skin infections are normally caused by fungi. The next, why is it important to think of these categories? Why do we need to categorize these infectious agents? Now the answer is that the categories are important factors in deciding what kind of treatment to use. Members of each one of these groups, viruses, bacteria and so on, have many biological characteristics in common. Now, once you have a disease, you need to treat it. In order to treat the disease, first you've got to understand your agent causing the disease. If you want a treatment for typhoid, you need to understand the microbe that causes the typhoid, so you can bring about a proper medicine for it. So it is very important to categorize these agents so that we understand the working of their bodies and hence produce the right treatment. For an example, let us take the difference between a virus and a bacteria. Like all viruses, for example, live inside the host of cells, whereas bacteria very rarely do. Viruses live inside the cell, while bacteria live outside the cell of the body. Viruses and bacteria multiply very quickly, while worms multiply very slowly in comparison. Taxonomically, all bacteria are closely related to each other than to viruses and vice versa. This means that many important processes are similar in the bacterial group but not shared by the virus group. So the bacteria have certain chemical processes or biological activities taking place in their body, and the viruses have their own. The chemical properties or the chemical reactions taking place in their bodies are different. So we can say biochemical reactions in virus, and they take place in bacteria also, but they are different. They are not the same. That is why medicines that work for virus will not work for bacteria, because the biochemical properties, biochemical reactions taking place in their bodies is different. Before we go into the next paragraph, let us learn what is treatment. Now, when we take medicines, what do actually medicines do? Why do they cure us? What do medicines actually do is they block the processes taking place in the microbe, in the agent. Example, if we in humans, if we take a chemical that would block our respiration process, we would not respire, and that would result in the death of that person, right? So medicines work in the same way. Poisons work in the same way. When we take poisons, why do some people die? Is because these poisons block the important pathways, important processes taking place in the body are blocked by these poisons, and hence result in the death of the person. Same thing for medicines. What do medicines basically do? They block the process in the agent. They block the bacterial processes. They block the processes taking place in the virus, and hence they kill the virus. So this is what exactly they are saying. Drugs that block one of these life processes in one member of the group is likely to be effective against many other members of the group. But the same drug will not work against a microbe belonging to a different group. Like when we take a bacteria, if a bacteria is causing a disease and you take an antibiotic is against bacteria. It will block the processes not only of one bacteria, of also many other bacteria belonging to the same group. So an antibiotic will block the processes of a bacteria, but they will not block the processes of the virus, because viruses have different processes. So here give the difference between viruses and bacteria. Viruses, they live inside the host cell. They usually live outside the host cell. Viruses use the mechanisms of the host for reproduction and other life processes, and bacteria have their own mechanisms for reproduction and other life processes. This I will explain a little more in detail about the second point. But viruses, remember, they live inside the host cell. Bacteria, they live outside the host cell. Now we'll go into the working of penicillin. This is an example to show how antibiotics work. Now every bacteria has got a cell wall. So you have the cell wall here, and within this you have the cell membrane and the bacteria in here. This cell wall now protects the bacteria. The main function of this cell wall is protection. Protects the bacteria. Now when this bacteria breaks up into two new bacterium, it will now divide in this two new bacterium, 1 and say 2 by some fission. Now if there is penicillin present, if there is this penicillin present in the bloodstream of the person, the bacteria is this cell wall. The bacteria is unable to develop this cell wall. This cell wall just disappears. Penicillin blocks the making of this cell wall. It blocks the biochemical pathway that produces this cell wall. Blocks the bacterial pathway for making cell wall. So definitely these two bacteria will now die. And this is how the infection, how this antibiotic works. Penicillin works because it blocks the biochemical pathway. Which biochemical pathway? The making of the cell wall. However, penicillin now will not work on viruses. Penicillin does not work on virus. Why doesn't it not work on virus? Viruses do not make a cell wall, so it cannot block its pathway. It can only block the pathway of the bacteria. Let's now read the text. An example, let us take an antibiotic. They commonly block the biochemical pathways of important bacteria. Many bacteria, for example, make a cell wall to protect themselves. The antibiotic penicillin blocks the bacterial process that builds the cell wall. As a result, the growing bacteria become unable to make a cell wall and die easily. Now the human cells don't make a cell wall anyway, so penicillin cannot have such an effect on us. It cannot destroy the human cell because the human cell do not make cell walls. Penicillin will have this effect on bacteria. Any bacteria that uses a process for making cell walls. Similarly, many antibiotics work against many species of bacteria rather than simply working on one. So penicillin will not only work on one kind of bacteria, they will work on all bacteria that make the cell wall. But why do these not work? Why does penicillin not work on virus? Viruses do not use these pathways at all. And that is the reason why antibiotics do not work against viral infections. If we have a common cold, taking antibiotic does not reduce the severity or the duration of the disease. However, if we also get a bacterial infection along with a viral cold, taking antibiotics will help. Even then, the antibiotics will be only against the bacterial infection. So, important point is antibiotics do not work for viral infections because viruses do not have cell wall. And what like penicillin, what does penicillin do? It basically destroys the cell wall. We can now answer the question, how do antiviral or antibacterial medicines work? They basically work by blocking the pathways. How does penicillin work against infection? It blocks the making of cell wall. How to abort diseases spread, all these we will do in the next slide, not here. Those are the means of spread which will come in slide 2.